following podcast contains spoilers and words that my mother would prefer I did not say. We watch a thing. We watch a thing. Hello, good people, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. I'm Billy, he's Dave. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, my friend. How are you doing?
Me? Oh, I'm good. I'm excited about this one. Little bit of a change up. Our good friend Sam from Movie Reviews and 20 Qs was not available tonight due to it.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, we could have gone ahead without him.
We could have, but
let's face it, we said he was going to be here, and I mean, it'd kind of be like the listeners going to see Genesis and then being told that Phil Collins was sick, and like Tony Banks and Mike Rutherford are very talented, but it's not why people bought the ticket.
No, they bought it for Peter Gabriel, clearly. Fuck Phil Collins.
50 years too fucking late.
Oh, no. Peter Gabriel was Genesis. Fuck Phil Collins.
Oh, look,
I'm saying that now.
No, right. No, I'm changing. We're not doing what we were going to do. Now we're just going to talk Genesis for the next 5 fucking
Top 10
hours.
Genesis songs.
Like, I'm all about the early shit like Foxtrot and Trespass and Lamb Lies Down and Broad. That's all great. I love my prog rock. But fuck Phil Collins, man. Come on.
And not a fan of Slimy Phil.
Oh, fuck.
But we're not here to talk Genesis tonight.
Next week we're doing Mirror Mirror so that you can at least like his daughter.
We are going to postpone our episode on Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania until next week so that Mr. Hurley can join us. Maybe we'll do it as a double with Cocaine Bear because I'm still really keen to get to that.
We need a good Elizabeth Banks movie after that fucking Charlie's Angels train wreck.
But so instead, I messaged you and I said, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to go ahead and do some Quantumania anyway? You know, Sans Sam. And you were like, what if do you reckon you could throw together?
Not without my Sam Hurley.
You said, do you reckon you could throw together a list of top 10 movie musicals in the next couple of hours? I was like, you know what? That sounds like a 5-minute job. Let's do it.
Challenge accepted.
So this was the easiest list I've ever had to make. Maybe it is just because it was such short notice. Maybe it's because I don't love musicals the same way you do, so it was a smaller pool for me to pick from. How did you go with this on such short notice?
I did it basically off the top of my head. I did my list and easily came up with sort of 15 or so and whittled it down and then thought, I'll kick myself if I've left off something I beloved. So I went and did a quick Google for, and then ended up changing half my list because I'd forgotten a whole bunch of shit because my brain doesn't work. Ordering them was easy.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of stuff that's kind of didn't make the 10 that I feel my heart just clenching in guilt over.
Tell me
There's
about
some beloved stuff out that's not in the 10. But I had to be true to myself. I had to go, okay, which are, and they're not the best 10.
Yeah.
They're my 10.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard. I could have done a top 30, I reckon.
Well, I feel you. Next week, I'm doing a guest spot on the countdown. We're doing our top 10 indie songs of the 2000s. And I have been working on this list for, no joke, months. And, I'm recording in a week. I think I've got my top 8 set now, but I still have about 45 tracks in the
Did any of my suggestions make you 10?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
And we know you've got the wrong song by one of your favourite bands in there, but we won't.
We'll see. So let's get into this though. Let's talk some musicals. Why don't you kick us off with your number 10?
All right, my number 10. Now this is I'm sure not going to be a crossover. My number 10 is a movie from 2007 called Across the Universe.
Ah, the Beatles. Is this a jukebox musical, right? This is Beatles songs?
It's Beatles songs. It's a proper musical. So I should say, criteria-wise, because it may crop up later, Billy.
It probably will, yeah.
A musical as the genre is a film or stage production, or etc., where songs and music are used as a device by the director or producer, whatever, to help convey the emotions and feelings of the characters and progress the story. As a film where characters happen to be in a band and perform songs, for example, is not a musical. That is just a film that happens to be about a musician. Anyway, moving on. I'm sure this will pop up later.
Probably.
So, yeah, across the universe, Julie Taymor film got a very young Evan Rachel Wood, a very young Jim Sturgis, cameos from such luminaries as Bono, Salma Hayek, Eddie Izzard, and has the cast play characters named Lucy, Jude, Maxwell, Sadie,
yes,
etc., etc. Eddie Izzard plays Mr. Kite. Yep. And it's about Jim Sturgis is I think he's a shipyard worker from Liverpool from memory. He's definitely a Liverpudlian. Goes over to the States and he meets young, beautiful Evan Rachel Wood and her friends. There's sort of love triangle stuff going on, etc. Yep. It's quite dramatic. It's definitely not lighthearted and frothy, but it's just beautiful. Have you seen this one, Billy?
I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be thinking of a different film. Is the gimmick in this one that nobody in the world remembers the Beatles existed except for this guy?
No. That's the Danny Boyle Yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Yes. That's that one.
Which is quite good.
So this is just a standard jukebox musical.
This is just a musical that happens to use Beatles songs and has kind of built a plot around the various, obviously, so many Beatles songs, mini stories.
So it's Mamma Mia, but Beatles.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But far less frothy. It's set in the 60s. There's a lot of anti-war sort of messaging in there. It's not a happy film by any stretch of the imagination, so you'll love it.
Yeah, cool.
But it's visually gorgeous. There's so many imaginative visual flourishes in it.
Yeah.
And the acting's... I'm a huge Jim Sturgis fan. I don't know why the fuck that guy's not in the A-list. He's so good. Evan Rachel Wood's obviously fabulous.
Yeah.
And you've got this incredible sort of supporting cast of... which a lot of them are cameos, but... where else are you going to get Bono, Joe Cocker, Eddie Izzard, and Salma Hayek in the same fucking film together? Jesus.
Yeah. That's an interesting cast. I'd be happier if Bono wasn't mentioned.
Oh, he's a cameo. I'm far from a YouTube fan, but I just don't think I don't know of any other film he's ever been in, so it's noteworthy if nothing else. But if you're even remotely a Beatles fan, this is a must see.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, my number 10. Is I don't know. I didn't think this one was controversial, but you might tell me this one's not a musical.
Wait, is this the one that I want to take a guess at?
I don't think so.
Oh God, you're controversing all over the place.
Apparently, my number 10 is Pitch Perfect. Would you allow this?
Oh, let me just cast my mind through it. It's certainly good enough as a film. I'm trying to recall if... I mean, they sing constantly, but I think the characters always know they're singing.
Yeah, I'm going to allow it. This is a good, fun movie.
No qualms about the quality of the movie. I think, what was it, my number 4 film of 2012 or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, so number 10 for me in terms of musicals. Like I said, The Pool, I don't think for me was as big as it is for you. Because I just haven't seen as many.
You're a spring chicken. I'm an old and you're about 10.
I've seen a lot more stage musicals. Movie musicals are just... I always knew I didn't like musicals, so I kind of stayed away from movie ones. And as it turns out, I actually tend to like most movie musicals. It's just the bad stage performances
are literally the finest art form humankind has produced.
So, yeah, I mean, I love the cast in this film. Anna Kendrick is great.
Kendrick is just my spirit animal. Well, no, Aubrey Plaza is, but I love Anna Kendrick, and they're almost the same person.
And this is a franchise that I think really dipped as time went on. But this first one's fantastic.
A fucking cliff.
It sure did.
If you looked at it, and I'm going to get nerdy mathematician for a bit. If you imagine a graph, because I'm not a pompous twat. If you imagine a graph that plotted screen time of Rebel Wilson versus shitness of film, I think you would find a very interesting correlation And that's why the third one in particular just took a nosedive off a fucking cliff, because the whole thing's about fucking Fat Amy.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
First one's fucking great, though.
Over to your number 9, mate.
Number nine. Okay. Number 9, I was surprised wasn't higher. And the reason it's not higher is because the translation of stage musical to screen.
Yep.
It's always a tricky thing, because do you concentrate on making, the acting and the dramaticism and the story, or do you concentrate on replicating the music?
Yeah.
And in this case, the director, Tom Hooper, focused on the drama, and he made a phenomenal film, but the songs are not as good as the stage performances because the acting is so good.
Yeah.
And he employed what he claimed was a unique and novel approach of recording the songs as performed during the filming rather than recording them later and sort of splicing them in.
Yeah.
So obviously musically it's not as good. I'm of course talking about Les Miserables.
You, of course, are, and this is one of the crossovers that we have. So there you go. There are
one of the ones that this is not one of the ones that I thought would be. But
this is I mean, you and I. It's already. When was it? Not that long ago, we were talking about how fucking good the songs in Les Mis are.
Oh, it is. And if we ever do stage musicals, spoilers, my number 1 by a fucking bullet is going to be Les Mis. It is the greatest musical ever written.
Yes, I agree.
But I mean, obviously, source material. It's one of the greatest works of dramatic fiction ever.
Yes.
And then Rubel and Schoenberg just did, God, they did good work on turning it, creating the songs to
it's honestly staggering how well it works, given how dramatic and grim the story is, to have the songs that it does. And I honestly don't know how it works.
I mean, it masterfully bounces between touching, lighthearted things, fantastic comedic interludes like Master of the House.
Yes, yes.
And then just
you hit the Castle on a Cloud and you get broken.
And then just this uplifting, hear the people sing and red and white. Oh my God. Yeah. It's just, considering this is the fucking guy that gave us Cats a couple of years later, Jesus Christ, talk about an interesting career. What it did give us is a unique telling or representation of this musical where the songs are incredibly moving. Anne Hathaway,
they're really part of the drama.
Incredible,
really. I can't think of another, yes, the technique might have been done before, but I think largely in part due to the subject matter of this musical, this feels more like a drama film than it does a musical film.
And the songs, I mean, for people who don't like musicals because they find it weird that people break into song, I think this almost would be one they could get behind, because there isn't a break in the emotion. It's not like someone's in an emotional scene and then they stop and start dancing around.
Yes.
I mean, Jackman and Hathaway in particular, but the whole
I love
cast,
Hathaway.
Her singing is better than anyone else that year acting.
Yeah.
She should have got all the awards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's by far the best acting Jackman's ever done. And that includes Prisoners. And I think Prisoners is a fucking incredible film. But he is amazing in this. Yeah. But because it's a list of musicals, I've got to factor in the fact that the music in this does suffer because the film is better.
Yeah.
And therefore it's only my number 9.
All right. Well, over to my number 9. Do you want to have a guess at the controversy? I think you know what it is based on what you said.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
No, but that was on my list and I dropped it.
Oh my God. I was so pleased when I thought, that's what it is.
That was on my list and I dropped it off to replace it with this film.
You're an even bigger folk lover than me.
Yes. I love that film and I loved that soundtrack I've got on all of my playlists.
Oh, it's a cracker.
I dropped it off to make way for this film, which I think is, in hindsight, I did that because I thought this is more of a musical, but you virtually described it when you were telling me it was not a musical. It's the Blues Brothers.
No, that is a musical.
It is? Okay, all right.
There is no way that all those people doing Dancing in the Street know that they're performing. This is a musical.
Excellent.
And it straddles the divide because
it does, because most of the songs is just the band performing. Yes, yeah.
But the Aretha Franklin song is not that's a musical number.
Yep.
Have you got John Lee Hooker in there?
Yes, yeah.
All of those ones, there are proper musical numbers as well as performed numbers.
Sweet.
So this completely fits the brief. You're off.
Excellent.
Llewyn Davis, on the other hand, not a musical.
Well, that's because I did have it there, and then that's why I replaced it with this one, because I was like, look, if this is closer at least. But I love.
Oh no, this is 100% qualifies, and I hadn't even. It wouldn't have made my 10, but it didn't. I didn't even think of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which I'm kicking myself.
This is such a good, fun movie. I first saw this movie when I was very, very young. My dad, he hired it from the video store and he's like, yes, we're going to watch this. And I remember I must have been maybe 5 or 6 at the time. And I remember looking at the case and I was like, why is it rated M? Isn't it about a band? And he looks at me and he goes, it's about life. Like, oh, okay.
Legend.
I love this film. I think the songs in it are so good. The performances are good. It's so funny. It's so over the top. The massive police car chase. It's just
amazing.
So good. Yeah. So even though it's my number 9, it was one of the first ones that popped into my head. My list is really all over the place. And I'm going to tell you now, I've got 3 films that are all penned by the same guy, which I usually try avoid when making lists. I'm like, everybody gets one.
I culled one that, if I was being true to myself, would be in the top 10, but I left it out, and I'll tell you the reason why, but it's similar to that.
All right, sweet. So over to your number 8.
Well, just on Blues Brothers though, it's one, and because I'm a smidge older than you. The 80s is kind of my formative movie years. And I don't subscribe to the view that a lot of my age compatriots do, that everything that we have a nostalgic yearn for is a classic.
Yeah.
A lot of them I look back on now and go, you know what? They're just not that fucking good. Ghostbusters. I was
just going to say
it's not that fucking good.
That was the first thing that came into my head. When
Goonies, I've got a huge love for. But it's fine, but it's not a phenomenal film or anything. And I could do that for a lot of them. There are a few, like Ferris Bueller, like Breakfast Club, like Blues Brothers, that are just as good today as they were back then. It's not rose-coloured nostalgia glasses or anything. They're just really fucking good.
I mean, just about anything John Hughes. I am a massive, massive John Hughes fan.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of weird
science
steps.
Another
Weird
one.
Science.
Still holds up.
But he's fantastic. All right, over to your number 8.
Number 8. All right. Tell me if this sounds familiar.
Chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang, chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang, chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang. Oh, you pretty chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang, we love you.
Oh, my kids got super into this movie. Must have been about 3-4 years ago, and we had to watch it all the time. And I'm sorry to say this to you, Dave, not a good movie.
Fuck off. It is one of the 4 greatest kids movies of all time. There are 4 kids movies that stand head and shoulders above all others. They're all musicals, so I won't name them because they might crop up.
Yeah,
it's one of them. They were all made before I was born, and that just goes to show you that you can't beat perfection no matter how much technology you've got. Written by Ian Fleming.
Yeah,
of James Bond,
Mr. Bond himself.
Screenplay by Roald Dahl, for fuck's sake. Come on.
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke, and I almost had another Dick Van Dyke film on here, and it hurt me to leave it off.
Yeah.
But when I really analysed it, I love this more. I mean, I love Anya Taylor-Joy, but Sally Ann Hales is possibly the most beautiful woman who's ever walked the earth. and playing a character called Truly Scrumptious. Come on.
Yes. Oh, that fucking Toot Sweet song. My kids loved that.
As they should. Gert Frobe, Goldfinger himself, speaking of James Bond in the cast. Benny Hill in there.
Yeah.
Robert Helpman. I swear to God, I watched horror movies quite young. I don't know if you did, because I know you're a bit of a horror guy too. I watched Nightmare on Elm Street. I would have been, what was that, 84? Oh, I would have been 12 then. But I watched horror movies heaps young. I was watching horror movies before I was 10.
Yeah.
But Robert Helpman as the child catcher is still the greatest traumatic horror experience of my young life. More than any horror movie. He was fucking terrifying.
It's pretty horrific.
Sir Robert Helpman, ballet dancer extraordinaire. Talk about casting against type.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie is just fucking fantastic.
Oh, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. Definitely would not have, didn't even pop into my head.
I told you that there's going to be some curveballs in this list, I tell you. You wait. Right. You think that's a surprise? You just wait.
Well, my number 8 might be a curveball, might not. I'm assuming you won't have this on your list, but I think we have spoken about this at one point. It's Cannibal the Musical.
Fuck, I didn't even think of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. There's none on my list. What am I doing?
I'm going to make up for it for you because I've got 3 on my list. But Cannibal the Musical was one of the first...
let's build a snowman.
Oh my God, we can make him out of clay. It was one of the first experiences I had understanding that a musical didn't have to be My Fair Lady or Guys and Dolls. A musical could have not only an element of fun to it, but
it could be bawdy.
Exactly. Yes. And, I think Matt Stone is the master of that. Like, obviously, Book of Mormon can't make this list because it's not a movie musical, but if it were, it would shoot up to number 1.
And if we were doing top 10 songs in musicals, there's one in there that would definitely be in my top 10.
Don't fuck the baby.
No. Well, this means God. This means fuck you.
Sadiga Iba. But Cannibal the Musical, I still throw it on at least once a year to this day. I got the Troma DVD, which has a bunch of the behind the scenes on it about the making of it and stuff. Absolutely love this movie. It was one of the first that popped into my head. I can't put it higher because I think Trey Parker has just continued to develop since making this film.
Course. Yeah.
But the songs in it, Spadoinkle.
Songs as high as a baked potato.
It's a classic.
Spadoinkle Day is on my car playlist that I put on for the kids driving to and from school. We all sort of sing it. It's so catchy.
The genius of
the idea of naming a character Alfred Packer just so you could have the line
Fudge Packer. Yeah. It's I just think it's absolute genius the way that this film is both a massive homage to real musicals like Oklahoma and all that Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff, while at the same time really making fun of those tropes. Like the way that at the end of almost every song, they all fall down laughing for no reason.
But not only doing all of that for musicals like Oklahoma, but also doing that for splatter horror movies.
Yes, yeah.
Because there's gallons of fucking blood in this.
So much.
It's like a comic level. And because they're in the snow, it's really, really noticeable.
Yeah.
But it's fucking low budget. It's a Troma movie. But you watch this alongside Toxic Avenger or Surf Nazis Must Die or Class of Nukem High or any of the other Troma films from around that sort of early to mid 80s period.
Yeah.
And it's so patently obvious that these guys were destined for greatness because it is, even though the budgets are comparable, it is better in every sense.
Oh, and this was actually truly independent. They sold it to Troma, but they produced it just on their own. Like, from memory, the story is that they had to produce a trailer for film school. They made a trailer for this film, and then off the back of it were like, you know what, this should be a movie. But it's brilliant film. Like, for a debut director who's also playing the lead and has written and performs all of the songs, it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. And best supporting actor obviously goes to Trey Parker's hair. When he takes off that hunting cap and boing, it's this massive afro.
Yeah.
Oh, I nearly wept.
Shocking that you left this off the list, Dave. I'm very disappointed in you.
I can't. Well, as you said, we put these together quite quickly. And I'm now, ruining the fact that I don't have any Trey Parker and Matt Stone on here because that wouldn't have made my list, much as I love it.
Yeah.
But another one that you're obviously going to mention would.
Yes, yeah. All right. On to your number 7 then.
Well, in a change of pace, kind of. I bet you don't have a Lars von Trier film on your list.
No. What musicals has Lars von Trier made?
You'll remember I'm a huge fan of The Northman.
Yes, yeah.
And one of the smaller roles in that is played by one of the most gifted musicians of the last 50 years, Björk.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
And it's the first acting role she's had in 22 years. But the one she had before that, she got Best Actress at Cannes, and that was Dancer in the Dark.
I've never heard of this film. That's probably just me showing my age.
Oh, God, it's so fucking good. You know what? I'm not going to go into the plot too much because I really do want you to watch this.
Yep.
I think it's worth it. It's tragic as fuck. It's really grueling, but it is incredible. And it is this sort of melding of his filmmaking prowess and her musical prowess. So she's obviously the main character. She's the one performing the sort of song and dance numbers, and and they're very much her song and dance numbers. So no one else could have played the part, and she was justly deserving of getting the acting plaudits that she did. I can't recall if she was nominated at the Oscars. Probably not because it's not a mainstream film, but. She was a revelation in this. Right. I think from memory I saw it twice at the cinema on consecutive days because it was It blew me away so much.
Right.
So I'll leave this one at there. But I would be very keen for you to see it and to hear what you think of it.
Okay.
Are you a fan of hers at all musically?
Yeah, I like Björk. I call Björk. I've noticed you've been calling her Björk, and now I wonder if I've been saying her name wrong my entire life.
I genuinely have no idea. I'm not Icelandic and would not pretend to be. I don't know. There's dots involved. The letters. Yeah. But I was madly in love with her at uni when she was a young poppet in the Sugar Cubes, and this floored me when I saw it. Yeah,
nice. All right. Well, my number 7 is one of my very few quote-unquote traditional musicals. Mm-hmm. There's quite a few that I like, but this one, along with Les Mis, I would say is the other one, made the list, and it's Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, nice.
I don't know why I like this movie, but I do.
It's got a Surrey on top.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, there's something about the simplicity of the plot for me. It's not over the top. It's literally just about a couple of people who live in Oklahoma. There's romances. I don't know. There's just something about, and the songs are so beautifully simple. You know,
it's really nice.
I mean, that opening number, is iconic. You don't even have to have seen the musical to know that song.
Yeah.
There's just something really sweet about this for me. I just enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I haven't got it. There's a lot of kind of those iconic sort of Rogerson, Hammerstone, Lerner, and like those.
Yeah, I quite like the.
They're almost all done by partners where one did the music and one did the words.
Yeah.
And I sort of grew up with all of those, 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, Oklahoma Stagecoach, Showboat, etc. Blah blah. I don't think I've got any of them in my list off the top of my head. But I can't think of any that I wouldn't happily sit through.
Yeah.
They're all just fun.
Yeah. All right. So are we up to your number 6?
Yes, we are. Now, this is a weird one. This is a sequel.
Can I just ask, is the film it's a sequel to also a musical, or is this just okay, all right. Wow.
And the other one could have made my list. This is where I left it off because I thought, it's kind of cheating to have two films in the same. So I went with the sequel, which the first film I think I've got is an 8 or 9 out of 10. It's pure joy. The music's fantastic. The acting's fantastic. It's nothing but fun. The sequel, however, surpasses it because it's better written. The only difference in
one sequel musical, and I can't be thinking of the right one.
The only difference in terms of the production team between them was the addition of Richard Curtis as to the writing team on the sequel.
Yeah.
So where the first one is nothing but pure joy from start to finish, and really I can't fault it. The second one is all of that, but it also almost makes me cry because the story is so good. The only thing that stops it being a 10 out of 10 film is the worst fucking stunt casting cameo bullshit fucking thing in the last 10 minutes that hits the movie like a runaway train.
I still don't know what the movie is. Unless
the movie is Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
That's what I thought you were doing. I've never seen either of the Mamma Mias because, to be honest, I have zero interest. They're always just assumed these movies were utter trash.
No, you would love them. They are nothing but joy.
You're saying the sequel is better than the first one.
If it didn't have Cher, didn't have Cher arriving in an unnecessary cameo at the end, like a bomb dropping from the sky and just hitting the film, it would be a perfect film.
A perfect film, you say?
And it's hard because you haven't seen them, so I don't want to spoil the reasons that the second one has more kind of pathos and drama to it.
Yeah.
Why it works is that the music doesn't feel kind of much as with Across the Universe, but even more so. It doesn't feel like someone's gone, how do we make a story around these songs? The songs fit organically within the plot. The plot itself would stand alone. You could have it as not a musical and it would still be an interesting and fun movie.
Yeah.
Where Here We Go Again works so well is that it is not only set in the present where you're sort of following the same characters a few years later, and Amanda Seyfried's marriage is sort of coming under, there's a bit of strain there. But you've also have flashbacks to, I almost said Lily Collins. I almost made the mistake
Lily
you made.
James.
Lily James, the one
I made a mistake about. She's the one from Downton Abbey.
The one who is in Downton Abbey, who is fucking stunning to look at, plays the young Meryl Streep.
Yeah, right.
And you flash back to her and the young Christine Baranski, the young Julie Walters, as they're leaving university and go on this trip to the Greek islands where Lily James ultimately, winds up finding she's pregnant, and you meet the young versions of the dads along the way, and it's sort of the grounding for what set up the plot of the first film.
Yeah.
And you're bouncing between the present and the past. And it is beautiful. I mean, it's Richard Curtis. He's one of the greatest writers of this sort of stuff ever.
Now I'm torn because I still have zero interest. But I feel like I owe it to you.
If you don't cry at the end of Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, we'll make some sort of a bet.
Okay, all right. We'll do that at some point for sure.
I mean, yes, Cher comes in out of fucking. You've got two sort of late cast additions in addition to the obviously the cast in the flashback. You've got Andy Garcia, who is incredible. He's always great. And then you've got Cher, who's brash. It's fucking Cher. She's no longer an actress. I mean, I love Moonstruck. I have nothing but respect for Cher as a performer, as an actress. She's great, but she is no longer a normal human. She's a Vegas performer, and that's kind of almost another species. And she comes in, and it shouldn't be there. But it doesn't stop it being a 9 out of 10 film.
Well, over to my number 6, which is the first animated film that either of us have mentioned.
Ooh.
It's Beauty and the Beast.
I tell you what, I've got the live action in my honourable mentions.
Oh, yuck. I hate the live action with such a great passion. I do.
It's better than the animated.
It's not. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. I hate it so much. I think Emma Watson. I think Emma Watson is abysmal in that film. I think she cannot sing, and I don't know why she was cast. I like Emma Watson. She should not have been anywhere near that film, as should none of the rest of the. I hated it so much, Dave.
See,
oh my god!
I don't like the live action. I mean, the animated's fine, but I love that live action.
This might be one
Tell
of the
me
things
about the
that
animated
we
one and
disagree
your
on
love
most.
of it, Billy.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautifully animated. The songs are
Was this
wonderfully
the first
written.
CG film or something?
No.
I feel like...
To my knowledge, the first Disney film that incorporated CG elements was Mulan. That's my knowledge.
I don't know why I'm thinking that this was the first one that wasn't cel-shaded in the old school. Anyway, yeah. Carry on.
This was still traditionally animated, yeah. And it's animated beautifully.
Well, it's even more impressive if that's the case. I assumed.
Yeah, I love the style of the animation. I think all of those early Disney ones look beautiful. Like, Little Mermaid, the animation still holds up, even though I don't think the movie is as good as a lot of people do.
Nuts.
But I think that this is easily their strongest musical from Disney. I think, this is better than The Lion King for me, hands down.
I'm not a Lion King fan.
No, I don't understand
either of them. I don't get why it's really.
Love.
I think Tangled is a better musical than The Lion King.
Tangled is fantastic, and God, if I had remembered that probably would have made this list, because I have such a deep love
Tangled
for
and
Mandy
Frozen
Moore.
are both really. Even Moana, all of those last Disney ones, I think are really good.
I think one of the most underrated Disney musicals is actually Princess and the Frog, which I think has some fantastic.
Yeah, you've got all that nice, New Orleans jazz.
Yes. But I think that Beauty and the Beast, for me, part of it is probably nostalgia. I just think that there's it's just really lovely. I really like the songs.
I think the reason I'm not particularly high on kind of that 90s, early 2000s era of Disney things is because I never saw any of them at the time. I didn't see Lion King when it came out. I didn't see this. I didn't see... I've caught up with them more recently. Yeah. I saw Lion King, the animated one, for the first time maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, because you're not a huge amount older than me, but you're just on the other side of that gap. Topher's the same. He's just old enough that he was no longer a kid, I guess, when a movie like this came out. Whereas I was still...
So when was this out?
This was 92, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, see, I was drunk at uni.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, whereas I was...
I was watching Trainspotting.
So, I think that there's definitely that kind of... You're just on the other side of it. You're never going to appreciate these films in the same way, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm with you on Princess and the Frog. That's one of the ones that we saw... I saw sort of with the kids going back through them, that I did really enjoy. And partly it's partly the music, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's funny, that's one that I was on the other side of. By the time that came out, I didn't see that at the time because I was too old for it. See, you clearly already had the kids by then. We
saw it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's older than that. It's about 10 years old now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But that's another one that, fantastic music. All right. So here we are, the top 5 then. Over to your number 5.
This one's not going to be a surprise. It might be a surprise it's not higher. It's the only Nazi musical.
Oh, okay, yes. Not on my list.
This is the only one of those sort of Rodgers and Hammerstein, that era, that ilk of stuff. It's one of those. I mean, we talked about how few musicals there are where every single song is kind of like a hit. There's no filler, and this is one of those.
Yeah,
there's nothing I skip through on this. Every single track on it.
Like off the top of my head, I could name 5 or 6 songs from this musical easily, and every single one is like, even the songs that would usually be a filler in a lesser musicals, stuff like How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria. Yeah. Or even like the Lonely Goat Herd song. In a lesser musical, they wouldn't slap as hard as they do.
Much as with one of the 4 greatest kids movies of all time, which is also a musical that I mentioned before, there is one song that everyone fucking skips. And I'll wait till
Charlie's
the end.
mother's song in Willy Wonka.
Laundry Soup song, yes.
Yes.
There is a Climb Every Mountain does not fucking belong in The Sound of Music.
Okay, you're absolutely right. It's so funny. It's like it's the title track, and yet it slaps the least hard.
It's just stylistically, it just doesn't belong. I mean, she does it well.
Yeah.
It's a little kind of trite with the fucking light behind her and all the rest of it. But I could do without almost her entire character, apart from the very humorous bit where she says, "What is it you cunt face?" But yeah, I could do without that song.
Yeah,
but every other song is fucking gold.
True.
The story is beautiful. Christopher Plummer is one of the greatest. You've got your Patrick Wilson. Give me young Christopher Plummer. Ooh.
Yeah, it's true. When he sings Edelweiss. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Fucking kills me.
Yeah.
But child actors always shit. 7 of the little cunts, and they're all good.
Yeah. That's actually
Even Gretel, and what is she, about 3? Jesus Christ. No, I adore this film. I've seen it. I think I've probably seen this more times than any movie other than maybe It's a Wonderful Life. Just because I watch that every fucking year.
I agree. I actually do love the songs from this movie more than I even care to admit. But for me, it's too long. It's just too long. Like and it makes more sense on stage because you have your acts, you have your breaks.
Sure.
I just don't think that the flow is consistent for me through this film, which is why it's not on my list.
Yep.
But yeah, those songs, they're good songs.
Oh.
All right, well, my number 5 is so far our one and only crossover. It's Les Mis, so straight back to you, which is awesome. Okay. This is on track to be our longest episode ever.
So it should be. It's one of the best topics in history. My number 4, I Got Money won't be a crossover. I've mentioned on the show before my love of the French director Jacques Demy, who our friend Giselle is also a big fan of. I nearly had Young Girls of Rochefort on here, but I limited myself to one of his. So my number 4 is The Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Never even heard of it.
It's where I said Les Mis might be one that, say, a non-musical lover might be able to get behind because kind of the music is so ingrained into the plot and it's performed in a dramatic sense. This is the polar opposite. There is no spoken dialogue in this film.
Yeah.
Everything that's not a song is done in that sort of recitative style where it's kind of sung dialogue. It's also in French. So another hurdle for those that are not fans of, things that aren't Hollywood mainstream. It's a wartime romance between Catherine Deneuve, who's was sort of Demy's muse. She's in Young Girls of Rochefort as well, and in most of his other films, and is one of the most beautiful women in history. She falls in love with this young guy whose name is Guy, or Guy in French, and they've got you've got this beautiful romance that sort of comes crashing to a halt when he has to go off to the Algerian War. So they stay in touch for a while, and then the letters sort of die away, and she ends up marrying someone else and having a kid, and he has some trials and tribulations, and then years later, sort of right at the end, they bump into each other at a gas station and have this moment, and then go their separate ways. It's tragic and beautiful. It looks incredible. The color, the direction, everything. Oh my God, it's sumptuous.
It sounds right up my alley. What year is this?
64, I think.
Okay, yeah, cool. I'm adding
it's right. It's Catherine Deneuve is in her 20s. She's just breathtaking, absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
it's just beautiful. I love this film so much.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, my number 4 is. This is the film that I suspect you would have had on your list had you remembered about Trey Parker. It's Team America: World Police.
No,
this isn't the film that you would have had.
No. No. I'm surprised that you think it would be. Nothing against it. It's fine. But they've got a much better musical in their catalogue.
I'm not arguing against that.
Of course you've... I'm sorry, this is only 2 of 3, isn't it?
Yes.
No, I've only seen this a couple of times. I really should watch it again. I haven't seen it probably since it came out.
It's fantastic. I mean, the songs aside, which I know I probably shouldn't do because this is the musical episode.
This wouldn't have even crossed my radar, actually, because apart from America, fuck yeah, here we go. You know, that's the only song I can remember.
Oh, no.
That
the Pearl Harbor song.
You've got balls, Gary. I like balls.
Yeah.
That's all I can remember from this whole thing.
So Ronry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember that.
No, I just think, I mean, the songs are great, but this really is here for the production for me. Like that Thunderbird style animation, which is all done by hand.
So well made.
It is stunning. It's stunning.
And the amount of work that would have had to go into making it look so shaky and everything.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of that is deliberate for the aesthetic, and it wouldn't be easy.
Well, it's the same. I mean, I'm sure you know, South Park now at least, yes, the pilot was done actually with,
it's all
cut out
CG
construction
now.
paper.
It's all computer.
It's done in Maya, which is like the highest end 3D animation software you can use. And they purposefully make it look like complete and utter shit. And I love that. Like, there's something so genius about that.
It's everything about what they do is so deliberate, and none of it these days is a result of not having money and stuff. It's a deliberate aesthetic.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. So that's my number 4. So over to you for your number 3.
All right. My top 3 were locked in, rock solid, in the order they are, the moment that we sort of went, we're doing this. So my number 3 is the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Ah, yes, okay. I actually did not even think of this. If this had popped into my head, this would have been in my 10 for sure. Would have been maybe slightly lower, probably 8 or 9. But yeah, this is fantastic. Can't knock that.
I have, and the only reason that the sequel Shock Treatment isn't in there is because I limited myself to one per sort of franchise, because I've got a massive love for Shock Treatment as well. This is I think this is the first musical I ever saw on stage.
Yeah, right.
So major props to my parents. My dad. My mum didn't come. My dad took me, and I think I've seen it on stage about 5 or 6 times. But I think the first one I saw on stage, or one of the first ones, I think had John Farnham in it.
Yeah, right.
as Frankenfurter.
Wow. How did he stack up to Tim Curry?
He was fucked. He was terrible. He was horrendously miscast. No, sorry, I tell a lie. I saw a revival of the original Australian cast with Reg Livermore, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Later I saw, Farnsey and Iota as Riff Raff, and that was a shithouse. Yeah.
I mean, has there ever been... I don't even usually find this person attractive. Has there ever been a more attractive person than Susan Sarandon in this film? I don't know what... Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The entire cast in this is phenomenal.
They really are. This is just fantastic. And the songs are great. Yeah.
And I mean, you've obviously got a lot of them were carried over from stage, including Meatloaf, Tim Curry.
Yes.
They were all carried over. Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick were new. Barry Bostwick wasn't the first choice. He wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be.
He's great though. Actually, I'm a big Barry Bostwick fan in this.
Who was it meant to be? Mental blank. But he's the guy that came back in Shock Treatment to play Brad. Yeah. So he was unavailable. But the whole cast are phenomenal. Every single song is fantastic. Richard O'Brien, he hasn't done a lot in his career, but everything he's done, I absolutely love. I love this. I love Shock Treatment.
Yeah.
He was the host on what I think is the greatest game show of all time, the Crystal Pyramid? Crystal Mountain, I think. Which if you've never seen any of it, go find it on YouTube. It's if I was ever going to go on a game show, that would be it. And he was the original host for years, and then they've had a subsequent run of them. Richard Ayoade, I think, is the most recent host. But this is such a unique thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it was a product of its time in the 70s. It was a product of O'Brien's life as a sort of a gay man at that time of, when punk was on, exploding. But just writing it was, such a brave thing to do, to come up with this thing. Getting people to perform in it would have been a challenge. Having it become a hit and to become such a hit.
Yeah.
I did a brief stint at uni filling in for a mate as one of the cast members. I don't know if you had the same thing in Canberra. Up here we had the cinemas would put the movie on, and you'd have the people being, the cast on stage in front of it, and it was a whole audience thing. I know our mate Drew Hallam from the Real Feels podcast similarly has a long association with this musical. But yeah, I love the shit out of Rocky Horror. Lost track of the number of times I've seen this. Every time I get it, I had it on VHS, then DVD, and then Blu-ray. I've got the album on vinyl. I've got, nothing but love for this. So that's my 3, Rocky Horror. Fucking legend. Over to you, buddy.
Great pick. Very good pick. Good pick. All right. My number 3 is the most modern musical on my list, at least. I think it's probably the most recent from any of yours as well. It's Damien Chazelle's La La Land.
Oh, yeah. I knew you'd have this. Definitely the most recent. I think the most recent of mine is probably the Les Mis. So, yeah.
I love this film. I think it's just so beautiful. Again, it goes back to, clearly I've kind of shown what it is I like here. It's the simplicity of it. It's just a very simple romance story between these two parties, and the songs are absolutely beautiful. The production, that opening number that's all that one take, and if you've ever seen the behind the scenes of that, where you see this cameraman jump backwards onto this crane, go up in this, it's fucking fantastic. I love this film. I know that it's quite divisive, and I think that that's weird. I don't understand how anyone can not appreciate this to some extent.
The mistake wasn't that this got read out. The mistake was that it was actually Moonlight that won.
Well, yeah, I love Moonlight as well, but this should have won. Yeah, I love this film. Yep. So there we go. That's my number 3.
Yeah, I'm really keen for you to see Babylon now, because
I'm keen as well.
Yeah, just the filming of that opening and that. But no, I'm with you. I actually was listening to the first couple of songs off the La La Land soundtrack only this morning in the car. It's beautiful stuff. Love it.
Yeah. Justin Hurwitz, everything that Chazelle and Hurwitz have done together has just been phenomenal.
It's magic. It's a really good partnership.
Yeah. All right, over to your number 2.
My number 2 is from 1979, a film by master director Milos Forman, who gave us such wonderful films. There's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Amadeus and People versus Larry Flint and Man in the Moon.
Love that film. Yeah.
And it is the film version of the iconic musical Hair.
Right. I have not seen Hair.
It's this is another one of those every song is a winner.
Yeah.
You know, there's enough variation, like with Les Mis, between funny songs that make you cry, songs that make your heart sore. It's got all of that.
I mean, Hair is, correct me if I'm wrong, this Age of Aquarius?
Yeah. So it also gave us, the closing moments of 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's the story concerns a Oklahoma farm boy called Claude Bukowski who gets his name drawn and gets drafted to go to Vietnam. So leaves Oklahoma, jumps on a bus, heads to New York to report to the draft board, gets there sort of the day before his appointment and has time to kill. So he's planning on sort of seeing the Statue of Liberty and seeing the city, and bumps into a small group of hippies led by Treat Williams' character George Berger in Treat Williams' fucking career-defining role. He sees Beverly D'Angelo riding a horse, who plays this young debutante and sort of gets the hots for her. And these hippies decide they're going to show him the real New York. So he gets they pump him full of drugs. They get him arrested. They have a bunch of fun and sort of open his eyes to a different type of life. And during the course of that, sort of make friends with Beverly D'Angelo's rather prim debutante character. And then things start to get a bit more tragic and the war starts to become more of a factor. And the ending is just fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that it was that much of a drama. I knew that it was mainly,
it's notorious because there was a lot of onstage nudity.
Yeah.
Which in the musical came out a fair bit earlier. I think it was late 60s. It took about a decade for the movie to get made. That notoriety sort of overshadowed the quality of the show, and the show itself is brilliant.
Yeah, right.
Musically brilliant, dramatically brilliant. The cast, John Savage is fantastic. Treat Williams, like I said, it is the pinnacle of his career, and he's a very sound actor. I love this. I've seen it so many times. I've got the soundtrack. I play it all the time. It's fantastic.
Nice. All right. Well, my number 2, again, is one of those early musicals that showed me that musicals didn't have to be stuffy, that they could be silly and over the top. It's Little Shop of Horrors. I love this musical. Based, of course, on a film that was famously made in like 2 days or something with no script or anything.
I was going to say, isn't the original's like a Corman thing from the 50s or something, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And this is just fantastic. The songs are brilliant. Rick Moranis and Steve Martin, all of these big names in the 80s just doing incredible work, some of their best work. I love this. I'm assuming you've seen this.
I've never seen it.
Are you kidding? Holy shit! You, the musical guy, and
something about it just never appeared. It always just looked silly. I've never read or heard anyone rave about it, so it's never really crossed my radar. I just always assumed it was kind of.
I mean, there is like an inherent level of silliness, of course, and it's kind of campy in that kind of 50s sci-fi movie way, which it's obviously spoofing on quite heavily.
That's all right. So it's Rocky Horror. Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. You would like the songs. I'm certain that you would like the songs in it. It's just a good, fun time. This is fantastic. You have to watch this. You have to watch this tonight.
Well, I won't. I will wait. I'm assuming this is something that's kid-friendly.
Yes.
I'll wait. I'll watch it with the kids.
Excellent. Yeah, cool.
But I will do that this week.
I report back.
Yes.
All right, over to your number 1 then. Here we are, top of the show.
Yeah, my number 1 was never going to be anything other than this. It's one of the few perfect films that have ever been made.
Can I take a guess?
Sure.
Is it Singing in the Rain?
Of course it's fucking Singing in the
Rain. I knew this would be your number one. Tell us all about it.
It is just, it's incredibly clever in the way it captures, both lovingly captures and also parodies the transition from silent film to talkies and sound. There are incredibly funny scenes of how they approach that and try and sort of keep up with the momentum of the jazz singer and so on.
Yeah,
you've got a dream cast with Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, who's just unbelievably talented fellow. Debbie Reynolds, that trio is just one of the most fantastic collections of actors and chemistry between them in movie history, I reckon. The songs are fantastic. The title song, obviously, as we mentioned, talking about Babylon, wasn't written for this. It was for Hollywood Review of 29 or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
But deliberately called back in this because they're referring back to that period in the film. Yeah. But some of the sequences,
some great dance numbers too. This is one of those musicals where it's not just the music; the dancing is fantastic, which isn't always the case.
The whole Gene Kelly's whole sequence of the Englishman in New York's stuff, where that whole it's one prolonged sequence with him and I'm going to blank on her name now. Famous singer dancer. Anyway, which when I was younger always felt out of place, and I always wished I could skip it. But I now appreciate it enough to think it's one of the high points. But the Make 'em Laugh sequence with the three of them, dancing, doing pratfalls, singing, it's just movie magic. Every track, every song in this is incredible. The plot line itself is engaging. You've got this fun sort of sitcom style will they, won't they romance with Kelly and Reynolds. I'm blanking on her name now, but the actress that plays his offsider, what's her name, Lily Lamont, from The Silent Days, who's got the horrendous horsey voice that doesn't transition to sound. She's just comic gold as well. It's everything about this is magic. It's a perfect film.
I knew this would be your number one as soon as this topic started. So, all right. Well, do you want to have a guess at my number one?
Oh, Bigger, Longer, Uncut.
Absolutely, it is. Yes, yep. South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which I think is Trey Parker's magnum opus.
Yep,
I think
100%.
Everything about this film is fucking fantastic. It is fall out of your seat funny. Like, it is one of the funniest films that has ever been made.
Agreed.
The songs are absolutely brilliant. From those opening notes that kind of parody Oklahoma, there's a bunch of
Mountain Town is just amazing.
Every single song, I cry in What Would Brian Boitano Do? And I can't explain why. I don't know why. My wife laughs at me every time because not even just when watching the movie, if that song comes on in the car, I shed a little tear. Like, there's something so emotive about Parker's songwriting in this film.
We spoke about Les Mis, but the parody of Les Mis,
yes.
that is
Viva la Resistance.
So clever.
It is.
And
it is.
The sort of last third of the song where you've got all four of them singing.
All of the medley.
The medley's just brilliant.
Yep. And even just the plot of the film, I think it's actually just insanely clever that it's this film about it's censorship and just, it's just
taking
fucking
a
genius.
Stab at so many things.
Yeah.
You could imagine that it was released a decade or more later in the Trump era and was kind of spearing that rather than what would it have been back in Bush Jr. or thereabouts. But it takes so many stabs at sort of right-wing America and the whole blame Canada.
Oh my God, blame Canada.
Skewers so much of that right-wing mentality. Yep. It's incredibly clever.
And you know what? This gives us a great bookend back to the start of the episode because Blame Canada should have won the Oscar. And you know what it lost to? Fucking Phil Collins for Tarzan.
We know how wrong those song things are. White Noise wasn't even fucking nominated this year for Best Song.
All right, so there we go. That's our top 10 musicals, movie musicals. This was fun. Yeah. Something different.
I feel like going and watching one or more of them now.
Yeah, I might have to go watch Bigger, Longer, and Uncut right now.
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll watch that.
Well, all right, there we go. What are we getting to next week then? I guess we already said it at the top of the episode, didn't we?
Yeah, we're getting to Sam Hurley.
Yeah, yep. Next week, Mr. Sam Hurley from Movie Reviews and 20 Qs will be joining us to chat all things Quantumania, and I don't know, let's see if we can throw some Cocaine Bear on as well.
Shoehorn a bear in there as well.
And I'll just plug it one more time that, next week I'll be on the countdown doing the top 10 indie songs of the 2000s, which if you want to hear me talk music, which you and we have plans to do some music discussions, at some point as well. So head on over and check that out. And I also, this is really fun. This weekend, I am recording a commentary track.
Oh, do tell.
Em Higgins from the Tasteless podcast.
Oh, she's lovely. I love her.
Yes. We've been asked to do a DVD commentary track for the 1950s classic Conquest of Space. So
even I haven't seen that. Have you seen this film?
I have to watch it tonight. I've not seen it.
I'm expecting some Mystery Science Theater style.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, Em and I think that's what it's going to be. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're recording that this weekend. So I don't know when that Blu-ray is dropping, but I'll plug it here when it does.
That sounds. I would love to do that.
All right. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and we'll catch you next week.
See ya.